I could live in a tiny little hut in the middle of the woods.
But could I call you Hansel then?
Okay, Gretel. Don't make it too long, yeah?
Don't make it... See, this is what happens when you get to sit down with Lord Gareth A. Davies. He gets to tell you how long. I'm not going to keep you long. But what I'd like to say is welcome back and thank you for an entertaining listen on IFL the other day. I enjoyed that very much.
Well, I'm not particularly comfortable talking about myself, even though people might not believe that. But I just kind of went relaxed, sat down with Coogan, and we had a relaxed chat. And, you know, he asked questions. I watched some of his other The Fight Within Raw podcast, Raw The Fight Within podcasts, and he wants people to talk about who they feel they are inside. And, you know, very often in these kind of snatched interviews we do when we're on fight week and in fight day, it's very different to kind of explaining who you are and why you're here and why you think you're here and your reasons for being here. So, you know, I often say to you, how are your 5 sons? You don't get asked that very often on here, do you?
No, because I don't usually talk about them because, like you said, some things you just keep out of the public eye because it's never about... Well, they do now because I'm not one for cutting things out.
Yeah, well, I think I always like that about you, it always gives me a great imagining about you, that you've got 5 sons. You, in my estimation, always grows when I think about that. Did you get that?
That's a very nice thing to say.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. Do you know, I mean, I'm a dad, I'm a granddad. To know you've got 5 sons is... Have you got any daughters?
No.
Okay. But
the man upstairs said no daughters for you.
No, but what I mean is that having 5 sons is a significant achievement in life, isn't it? You know.
It is. I've done the exercises to help me get back in order. So, yes, I do know.
I just mean being able to bring up 5 men, 5 young men, you know. And I'm sure they reflect you and I'm sure they're a credit to you.
Yes, they are. But enough about me, because I don't take compliments very well. But thank you for that.
Talking about yourself, isn't it?
Yes, I don't like it.
I know. I said no to Coogan first of all. Yeah. But then I thought, you know, I know Coogan. Well, weirdly, started off with we don't know each other very well after all these years. But weirdly, you get a sense of what people are like when you're around them. Like, I don't think people change that much when they go home from what they're like at work. So if someone's a shit at work, they're probably a shit at home.
Absolutely.
You know, I have my moments at work, I have my moments at home. But, you know, I think it's divulging those things that are a deeper part of yourself is complex. And that's why I love fight sports, by the way, because there's a deep sense of a lot of people that's on display all the time. The people that we're writing or talking or explaining a narrative around, you know.
But you've got that experience. You said, I think, did you say 30 years in total in sport, in boxing, sport journalism?
Yeah, it's, early 90s was, you know, the first York Hall Islington Boxers time, 91. So, yeah, it's 32 years now. I think, you know, there's times when you're really doing loads and learning loads. There's times when it's shifting, like now is shifting. You know, we've just been at the Mayweather-Chalmers press conference today, and I've been in packed halls like that when Floyd's fighting Canelo or Shane Mosley, Maidana, Ricky Hatton, Manny Pacquiao, all these guys over so long, so many fights. I can't even remember all the names now. But it's unusual to see him in the UK, see him at this age, and there's a continuity in it all. And it's a bit surreal in some ways because the world's changing. Today in that press conference, Tommy Lee and Natalie Dunn, they nearly got done today with each other. I thought, I don't know these 2 women boxers. They're not, they're reality TV stars. And they were the ones kind of bitching at each other, weren't they, up on stage? And Floyd just kind of like, I'll just let them do a bit of that and didn't take any notice of it. And so the milieu is changing, it's confused, it's blurred. Got half an eye, weirdly today. I had Tommy Fury on Zoom, standing outside Floyd's room.
Yeah.
And Floyd came out of the room, I was waiting to go into the room and ended up doing a little interview with me for Talk Sport. And I ended up On the Zoom, Floyd's in the Zoom chatting to Tommy. It's so kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is fun when you said that you would have to they'd have to type out what you were seeing at the boxing matches, and then the
talk it down
that's
the
it.
phone.
Sorry, talk it down
On
the
the
phone.
sets.
Yeah,
Ask the copy takers how many words you'd got up to.
Yeah, and
I liked doing that because I'm very aural and oral. I love oral tradition.
Yeah.
You know, speaking about things, storytelling. So I loved that. I mean, I find it harder to sit down and write loads of words. Well, unless I'm under pressure with a deadline, you know, which I've got to do tonight with the Conor Benn story.
we can touch on that. Obviously, we have been today.
Show this, isn't it? Basically.
Well, you know what? Like I said, I've
I might order
always.
dinner in a minute.
Well, you might. Well, you can do what you like. I've got to go back to Birmingham after this, so it is good to sit down with somebody that is as experienced as you are. I like people that are not afraid to be themselves. People that are quirky. You know, I've never fit in. I've always been a little bit of a misfit myself, so I don't tend to gravitate towards the popular ones because they fit a narrative. I tend to be drawn to people like yourselves that are outspoken. You know, even when you said to Dillian the other day, you know, do you have a shower before you but it was
horribly
yeah,
wrong.
but it was funny.
And it's still going horribly wrong.
But it was funny because what a really, excuse my French, what a really fucking random question to ask.
I know, well, I was driving in thinking, what haven't I asked Dillian? And I remembered fighters that don't wash before they go into a bout sometimes. They want to have their animal smell about them. Or
Fair enough.
I picked the wrong moments, Dillian, and he gave me that kind of...
That was hilarious.
And you got to be careful with Dillian because he's very on, very switched on. He's like, that doesn't fit with him. He's that he thinks you're trying to trip him up.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think a lot of us inside feel different.
Okay.
And I think if you want canonical ownership of your life, if you want to be yourself, you've got to step outside being in a group because you find out pain's there. Take the pain, experience the pain. Because I think, you know, I'm not saying people in groups are hiding, but if you don't find yourself as a group person, I was always a group person playing sports, but outside sports, I like my own discoveries. I like, you know, I can't stand and wait for 10 people to make a decision on where we're going next. I'm gone.
Yeah.
Even if it's out the back door of the bathroom
Yeah.
at a party, because I cannot be asked to say goodbye to 30 people.
God,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, but I think that's knowing in your mind what you like, what you know. And I think after a while, when you get to a certain age, you find out what you are and who you are anyway. But I live by... without this being another, you know, Raw the Fight Within interview, you be yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, you reap what you sow. You are who you mix with. A lot of things that a lot of people, I think, live by. And I really try and do them. You know, when we're in this environment, we're looking around for who we want to interview, where we're taking the narrative, how we're going to do our interviews. You know, the pecking order of importance. Like today, Conor Benn, I know you're going to ask me about that.
I've got to.
Because I'm just checking my phone as well, because I've got things coming in. Oh, good. So, you know, it's you've got to be light on your feet doing this, haven't you? I mean, I wouldn't say you're new to the game, but you're...
New.
All right, well, you're new to the game then.
I like
But the
it.
game of boxing and fight sports and how the media works.
Yes.
There's a lot of them new to it.
Yeah. But I enjoy it for the reasons why I enjoy it, because there was nobody quite like fighters. What you saying?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, go on.
Are you... Because I had this chat with Eleanor Roper the other day that worked for the BBC and Sky. Do you know Eleanor? No, but you will know Eleanor. She said she finds it hard in boxing because she's one of few women. She's a presenter. And I was thinking, is it not an advantage to be one of very few women in it? How do you find it? Because it is mainly men. It is mainly men in the media. Do you find it difficult? I know I'm turning it on you.
I'm one of 8. I'm the last child of 8. So I've always had to fight for my seat at the table.
The last debate have 4 boys, 4 girls.
Yes, 4 boys, 3 girls. No, 5
Your maths is
girls
not good.
and 2 boys. It's probably because they're dying
That's
now.
7.
But yeah, no, and I'm 8.
Oh, you're the 8th.
Yes,
Oh, that's terrible. They're dying now.
it happens. And
so
I'm
I
used
see.
to.
So the
I'm
oldest
used.
is 60 or whatever. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
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 And
So
the
I'm used to
youngest is
me.
no, yeah, nearly caught
The
you.
youngest is me.
And the youngest is
Me.
60, and the youngest is you.
57.
Are you? Nah, rubbish.
But I think for women, the opportunity's there, but I think there may be a certain type of woman that maybe other women will try and be rather than being individual. And I think you never go wrong when you're yourself. People are
You
people are
can't.
gonna love you and they're
No
gonna
one
hate
is
you
going
anyway.
to do you better than
There
you.
you go.
That no one can do yourself better than yourself. And the sooner you realise that, the better. Listen, we all go through stages in life when we're growing, or when we're down, or when things blight us. And often when you're flying, you get sent
my
a message,
gosh.
don't you? So I mean, we all have to work on ourselves. Self-discovery is so important.
And it's just having that confidence to be yourself. And like I said, people are not going to like you anyway for whatever reason. So just carry on being yourself. But
I think when people don't like you very often, they haven't met you and they haven't felt your energy. And I think I've had times. I mean, some people just dislike you and they'll always dislike you. But with most people, that changes. I mean, you didn't like me when you first met me.
didn't I?
Do you remember?
No, I can't remember.
No, I can't either. I'm just teasing you.
I've been one of them
you
that
might not
always
like me
said, "I'll bore off." I'll tell you something, Gareth. I work for myself. I don't get
Yeah.
paid. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If I don't like you, you won't be a guest on the channel because I can choose. I'm at that point where I can choose
So am I
who.
privileged to do this for nothing then?
If I had the money, I'd pay you.
Would you?
Yeah,
Would you
I'd
pay
give.
everyone you
I'd give.
interview,
I'd give
or is
you.
this a sliding
I'd give
scale?
you a tenner.
Well, at least I could buy us a couple of coffees then, anyway. In fact, they gifted that me free in the bar just then.
That wouldn't happen to me. So there you go.
In
That
here,
that is your
what's the
gift.
hotel? Let's give it a bit of publicity.
Leonardo.
The Leonardo Hotel, City, 14 to 18 Cooper's Row. If this goes out quickly enough, get yourselves over here and we'll have a bit of dinner. I think I might be gone. But yeah, let's talk about boxing anyway.
Conor Benn. Now I need you to break it down. Talk Sport have seemed like and I will say this, and I do like Simon Jordan because he's quite straight to the point. But Talk Sport have really got they're like a dog on heat with this story. They've took it from the beginning. They've dissected it. They've analysed it. They've torn Eddie Hearn to shreds. They've put the blame out. There's been a bit of a to-in and fro-in. But let's put all of that aside. The bare bones of the Conor Benn story. What has happened? Because we've had some new news that's come out today.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it. I've got a story up on the Telegraph site now as well. I mean, I've written about this story a lot. I've broadcasted a lot on it on TalkSport. What it's lacked is transparency from October the 5th onwards, and maybe back all the way to July and September, where we should have known about these tests. There should have been a declaration about them from the Boxing Board of Control, from Eddie Hearn, from Callum, and they shouldn't have tried to push ahead with the fight. If Conor, as he's proclaimed the whole way through, was innocent and is innocent, we should have been able to see all this in the public eye. The WBC, the reason why we're talking about it today, the WBC has said there's nothing wrong with the VADA tests. VADA did what VADA does. They found clomiphene in his body twice. They're not saying that. They're saying there's veracity to that. But what they're saying is they're accepting that there is truth, and it's plausible that Conor Benn ate a surfeit of eggs, and that clomiphene could have got into his system from those eggs. They're saying there was clomiphene in his system. They say they have to go with the VADA findings, but they don't believe that he was doing it deliberately to cheat and to, making it an intentional cheating process. I hope that's the case. Boxing Board of Control have now responded after the World Boxing Council, and they have said that they're aware that the WBC, this statement's just come out, just been emailed it by the Boxing Board of Control. They're aware that the WBC, and just putting this into context, none of this 270-page report ever went to the Boxing Board of Control or UKAD. It only went to the WBC so far. Last December, that 270-page report that was put together by Conor Benn's legal team, The WBC, the British Boxing Board of Control, is aware the WBC has considered 2 positive findings in relation to Mr. Conor Benn, who, at the time of the relevant samples were taken in 2022, was a licence holder with the BBBFC. Obviously, he relinquished or surrendered his licence last October. What they're also saying, have not been party to the review conducted by the WBC and hasn't been given any sight of any evidence that was submitted on Mr. Benn's behalf. They're aware that they've concluded the review, the WBC, and has reached its own decision, published today. And for clarity, they're saying that it respects the WBC. But the WBC is a sanctioning body and not a governing body. It doesn't license people. That's worth remembering as well, remember?
Okay.
So they can put him out in the rankings, doesn't mean he gets a license to box. The Boxing Board of Control was the governing body with whom Mr. Benn was licensed at the material time when he was due to face Chris Eubank Jr. and through that period last year, July to September and into October. And as such, any alleged anti-doping violation shall be dealt with in accordance with its rules and regulations, and that relates to the Boxing Board of Control and UK anti-doping. The UK anti-doping rules, make clear what conduct constitutes an anti-doping rule violation, and if you recall, they've upheld those findings already last October when the licence was surrendered. So they say we are still having to put our investigation through this stuff. This is what we think. You still need to clear our system, and I think what they're inviting Conor Benn and his team to do is send a report over now for them to have a look at that. Stage 1 of 2 or 3.
I was about to say this is now a process because he's gone over to America with Maurizio, with the WBC, done a process with them, with his legal team, and now they have to filter that over to the BBFC for them to now do their investigation. This is not something that can be solved overnight.
Well, no, it won't be solved overnight. It'll all be speculated on overnight, and it will roll out over the next few weeks. But they will carry this case now to other licensing bodies and say, look, this sanctioning body, the WBC, the sanctioning body, not licensing body, not a commission or a Boxing Board of Control, has taken on board the how they've laid it out, the evidence of what Conor Benn's behaviour was in that period, this surfeit of eggs. They've said, we believe him. We don't believe that he's deliberately cheated. You now prove that he has deliberately cheated. So it's going to be a very difficult situation. There could be lawsuits issued, all kinds of things. They need to come to a resolution. I think that report should have gone to the Boxing Board of Control at the same time, but clearly, logically thinking it through, they wanted to send it to one body first, try and get his name cleared with them, and then try and press it, do both. If one said no, one said yes, he's stuck between 2 stools then. So, look, it's a pressure process. No one wants to be in this situation. No one wants Conor Benn in this situation. I don't want it to be proven that he's a drugs cheat. I hope he isn't a drugs cheat. He's proclaimed his innocence the whole way through, and it's a right royal mess and a lack of transparency. And they made a mess of it, I think, last year in that fight week, where they should have just called the fight off when the Boxing Board of Control said we're not having this fight, not left it open for 30 hours, and then just made sure that everybody was aware that they're following the Boxing Board of Control's rulings. Because I think it dragged through boxing through the mud, and over the last 4 months, Red, there's been so many people speculating, and people will now always speculating on what he's done.
Absolutely. Moving forward then, the only thing that I can think as a solution is that UKAD, VADA, WADA, that they work together as a collective so this doesn't happen again. You can't be failing tests on one thing and going and having negative results on another, because it creates this problem.
Yeah, it does, I agree, but the trouble is they've all got licenses with different bodies. I do think what they should do is have a finding sharing process or agreement, unilateral, like a united testing system, where they are allowed to take, although I think their testing systems are slightly different, but they should all be under one banner. They should all be under WADA, I think, which is the Olympic standard, but they've all got their own companies. I think In this case, UCAD did take VADA's findings. They are taking VADA's findings in their investigation. I remember reporting on that last year around November, December time. But like you say, it does need coherence and it needs transparency. And without that, we can't get anywhere, in my view, going forward. And let's be honest, the key thing in all of this, and most people find this a boring subject, but it isn't. We are covering an inherently dangerous sport, and therefore drugs testing, banned performance enhancing drugs, which enhance the body, which give you residual benefits, which make your bone structure denser, or make your training easier, or increase your conditioning, make you more of a weapon, basically. It needs to be adhered to, because people die in the ring, get legally killed in the ring. So they've got to keep as closely as possible to the lines that are laid down.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to leave it there. Gareth A. Davies, hot, literally sizzling hot off the press, as he does with most things. Gareth, it's been a pleasure. October Red Boxing, Gareth A. Davies. Until the next time.
There'll be a next time. Always a pleasure. Let me just give you a little sign off.
You'll never get as cool as... Hi, and thank you for watching October Red Boxing. Like, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications. You can also find us on Instagram at October Red Boxing and on Twitter, October Red UK. And remember, at October Red, we stay ready.